Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Celtics lose to the Knicks 109-94. Josue Pavon here from Madison Square Garden. Let's get into the threes. We've talked about it all year. It's been one of the big themes of the show. The Celtics are going to shoot more threes than anyone this year, aside from Dallas, Golden State in their league. And Joe Mazzulla said after a night where they went 9 of 42, worst three-point percentage they've had in a game all season, right around 20%. Worst first quarter, tied for worst quarter period all season that they had, 1 of 12 in that first quarter, and the first half, the worst half they've had all year from threes. So the threes didn't fall throughout this game. Jason Tatum struggled on pull-ups. Marcus Smart missed a ton of catch-and-shoot opportunities. Al Horford hit one early, struggled to get him to go for the rest of the night, and then different stints by Blake Griffin, Mike Muscala trying to space the floor, hurt them defensively, and didn't add anything offensively. Yeah. So Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, they get inside a little bit. Marcus Smart tried to post some guys up, but they overall kept leaning into that three-point shot throughout this one, and it never arrived. And it's my big worry, something like this happening in a playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, you live by the three, you die by it too. I mean, that's always the mantra. And I think the Celtics, I mean, we know, we've been talking about it all season long, like that's just part of their DNA. Like three-point shooting is a big part of who they are, and when those shots aren't falling, the offense can get really stagnant, especially when you don't have one of your all-stars out there in Jaylen Brown,
it's a big deal.
I think is worth mentioning for sure. Against the New York Knicks team, that was red hot coming into this one, right? I mean, this winning streak extends from beyond the All-Star break. This is what the New York Knicks have been doing.
6 now, yeah.
And, you know, outside of one loss against the Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, they haven't lost in a long time, you know, and to go up against the Celtics again, remembering what happened the last time these two teams met, I really do think they wanted to deliver a message. And they did that in a big way. You know, going into this one, the last 6 games, they averaged, you know, we talked about it before the game started, they averaged 34.5 first quarter points. The Celtics limited them to well below 30 in that first quarter, but then they barely scored 17, right? Or barely hit, you know, over 20 points in that first quarter. They finally did, you know, going into the second quarter, and I just felt like the Knicks just never gave up in sense of executing and making the right plays and hitting some really tough shots. And that, of course, extended to the second unit when you guys got guys like Quickly and Josh Hart coming in and hitting big shots. I just thought the Celtics defense just really couldn't slow that team down, especially the second unit.
I think it's fitting, too, on this night. Since that red-hot start where the Celtics were the best offense ever, turning point, that Suns game, John always points to it on the show.
Right.
Knicks now, since that game, just past the Celtics in net rating. Celtics still a top 5 team because of their third-ranked defense over that stretch, and that's not quite as dominant either, but we'll leave that for another day as it was last year. The offense has slipped enough where the Knicks now have played better basketball than them over this stretch. And we see it in the 2 losses over these last 2 games. I think they have different ways they can bother the Celtics. And we say that about quite a few teams in the East now, which is concerning. Rim protection bothers this team. Cleveland's coming up on Wednesday. You're going to see it with them. When teams take the paint away, unless Jaylen Brown's getting off that mid-range shot, which is why they missed him so much tonight, there aren't many alternatives to driving and kicking. And Joe Mazzulla said as much. They didn't want to just drive into the brick wall in there with Mitchell Robinson. I think you said during the game. They were trying to challenge him, and he just kept sending them away.
Yeah, and that included Jason Tatum. I mean, he had a big block on Tatum.
That was a big play early.
It sort of led to Tatum taking more three-pointers, you know? And I think that didn't necessarily help, especially when they're not falling. And the Knicks are capitalizing off those miss shots. And, I mean, you talked about it. Guys like Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon were really trying to be aggressive on offense, you know, attacking the rim, but it just wasn't enough. I just felt like the Celtics couldn't find, outside of that 10-0 run, they really didn't find that sort of offensive rhythm, and the New York Knicks just continued to push the lead into double digits.
We asked this on the show. Celtics lose the 1 seed tonight. Bucks move into number 1. Will Boston get it back by the end of the year and finish first?
I think they will. You know what? I don't remember this a couple of months ago, Bobby. I predicted this to happen like before the All-Star break, and here we are. Yeah, for them to lose it, and I was like, they're not going to hold on to it this whole time. And they did. I mean, by a thread, but they did hold on. And now the Bucks have, you know, passed them. And I saw that coming. I really did. I just feel like this Celtics team, this might be the message that they need to face adversity in this way, just to show them that, look, there are other teams gunning for you, and obviously you have a target on your back. But when you're talking about a very talented team like the Milwaukee Bucks who have added pieces from the from the trade deadline, a team that was already your biggest threat in the Eastern Conference. I mean, this is just another message of showing that it doesn't have to be the Milwaukee Bucks to do it to you. It could be a team like the Knicks. It could be losing to other teams in the Eastern Conference that really want to get that win over you, while the Milwaukee Bucks really haven't dropped many games outside of the ones they played against you.
Yeah, this team might have made the most impactful addition of all the playoff teams in the East when you look at Josh Hart. Mike Muscala, not a big part of this game, and he didn't play the last three coming into this one before the Celtics turned to him tonight. He can't fix the offense. Malcolm Brogdon tried, couldn't do it himself, and Celtics fall flat on this one on the offensive end of the floor. Again, the inconsistency on that side of the ball continues into the second half of the season, and the Celtics have 20 games left to get it right, starting with Cavs on Wednesday, another challenging opponent.
Yeah. Knicks
are back at Boston on Sunday, so a quick chance to rematch. What Al Horford did call a message sent by the Knicks tonight in their 109-94 win. We're brought to you by BetterHelp.
BetterHelp.com. In a second, Bobby. Go ahead after the
BetterHelp.com/Garden. 10% off your first month of therapy when you head there. Get matched with a licensed therapist right from your phone there. Your final thought tonight?
Well, before I get into my final thought, I just want to ask you a question, Bobby. When you think about where the Celtics are now, does any part of you wonder if the Celtics could have done a better job against the Bucks? That matchup before the All-Star break where Tatum had the night off, and against that, I mean, in that game, instead of having the night off right before the All-Star break, do you think that was a mistake on Celtics' part?
He probably needed it. If he was going to sit, he probably needed it, either because he said so or the training staff said so. So I can't argue with that. Maybe holding out as many guys as they did that night might not have been the right choice, because they certainly ended up competing and showing that they can win that game. But I'm not worried about the 1 seed if they're the best team in the league. And I still think they are, though my faith in that's been wavering through the second half of the year. There's other teams in the mix that are closer to them, which is something I wondered about early on. So they're going to have to go out and take it over this final stretch here, and they'll still have the opportunity to, I believe, because of their depth, because of how many different ways they can play in games like these. Still a little bit awkward with the full group, which is kind of ironic. You wouldn't expect this team to have as much struggles with the full group intact as it would with guys missing, because they played great with guys missing this year, all things considered. They just worry me with the threes. That's been my biggest worry all year.
You've been saying this all year long. That's true.
Because you can't come to the podium after you lose a playoff game, never mind a Game 7, and say the shots just didn't fall. You got to have some alternatives. You got to have some adjustments, and that's what we'll see Joe try to make down the stretch. We're brought to you by Athletic Greens as well. athleticgreens.com/garden. Get you 5 free travel packs as well as a year's supply of vitamin D, vitamins, minerals, adaptogens, probiotics. It's all in Athletic Greens, so check it out. Great reviews as well over at athleticgreens.com/garden. Final from New York. Josue Pavon, Bobby Manning covering this road trip. We'll be back out there again before long. For now, we're back to Boston for Celtics Cavaliers on Wednesday. This has been the Garden Report.